Who's hurting you more? The person who once hit you, or you hurting yourself by going over that event over and over and over and over and over again? It happens for us and not to us. And everything is here to bring us home. Everything is here to wake us up. The whole world is the kindest universe, which is here to wake us up. In spite of all the cruelty and the nastiness that we see on television going around the world. But it is all here to wake us up.
Guy here, welcome to my podcast, and yes, I'm in a very different setting today. Look, this might be a longer intro than normal. There's timestamps below, so if you want to just skip to it and get on to my podcast with Wilhelm, go for it, which was a fantastic conversation today, and we get into the topic of karma, of all things, and many other things in the spiritual journey and everything. So I have no doubt you'll get a lot out of it. But why am I standing with a very old shed behind me? And here, trees. I'm actually in the house I grew up in Wales. I'm here by myself. My family is still in Australia. I've flown on to help my mum out. And I realize on YouTube there's a lot of conversations on my podcast, with everything else. So I just wanted to give you a little glimpse into my world for all you guys that kind of tune in on a regular basis. Anyway, there's a lot of life lessons in this shed. It made me think, because I actually built it with my dad about 20 years ago now, and it was the first thing I saw when I walked home. I'm only here for about another 2 days before flying to Bali for our retreat. But anyway, the reason why I share this shed with you and why I'm so fond of seeing this here now is 20 years ago, I was at a crossroads in my life. It was when I was about to emigrate to Australia, and I had about 6-7 months up my sleeve before I was going to make the big move. And at the time I was reading Conversations with God. I remember that book stood out to me at the time. The Alchemist was another book. And I was, going through that transitional journey, as we all do, another phase in my life. And when I came back, I was offered some really good money to go and work in London at the time. And it would have really helped me set myself up to go back to Australia. But my heart was saying, just come home to Wales. My dad had been working away most of his life, and he had just moved back. And I thought, the right thing I really need to do is just come home and spend time with my mum and dad and help them with the house if I can. Even though the fear in me was saying, go to London, take the money and set yourself up in Australia, you know what I mean? But I came back, and anyway, I built this shed with my dad through the summer, and it's literally falling apart now. I've emptied it because my dad's passed now 10 years. But when I think of my dad, when I think of these memories, this is incredible. It still fills my heart with so much love, and these memories are with you for life. And it was a really valuable lesson for me in that point in my journey to really trust and surrender into what all these teachers were talking about in these books and philosophies. And for me, this is where I was starting to really take action and embody many of the teachings that they were speaking of. And it was beautiful, and we ended up doing the bathroom, we ended up doing the roof, and to this day, these memories of just this time that I really got to know my dad as well, where back then I grew up, like I said, he was away a lot, so it was really great bringing that back in. So actually being home and going through everything is such a trip. I literally just took a walk through up into the hills where my mates' farms are and stuff, and that it's gorgeous, really gorgeous. But anyway, I thought I'd share that with you and to ponder about where in life are you or we, making heart-based decisions and stuff that honor our heart and soul, to actually are they just based in fear and based in this way of moving through our life without being able to lean into trust and surrender. I guess that's what it boils down to. And my life looks very different these days now because of these lessons in life and actually taking them on. Anyway, I just felt very nostalgic this morning. I felt quite emotional waking up and I just thought I'd record this intro because I forgot to record the intro before I left. Yeah, and can't wait to connect with my family, get to the Bali Live and Flow retreat, and yeah, keep life an adventure, keep it excited, keep it moving forward. Anyway, let me know if you are still watching in the comments. Like, have you done any heart-based decisions instead of, what lessons have you learned? Use the comments to connect, share, or let me know where you are in the world as always. And yeah, maybe one day I'll meet you somewhere in person and connect and have a proper hug and a chat and say hello. Yeah, we'll be in Croatia in November as well, so it's all exciting. We got Australia retreat through the year, up and down the coast. Yeah, New Zealand, we'll be there. Exciting times. Anyway, much love from me. Enjoy this podcast with Hans. If you're still watching, thank you, and go to the shed. Do you like my handiwork? God, it is falling apart. Anyway, much love. Hans, welcome to the podcast, my man.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's always a pleasure, mate. It's always a pleasure. It's interesting. I've been slowly exploring your videos and your work, and even though we've not met before, you always start to feel like you're getting to know someone through technology. It's a fascinating thing, and I look forward to getting to know the man behind it all today.
Well, I'm delighted to meet you and share this with. I've got a lot of friends in Australia, a lot of subscribers, and so it's exciting to connect with Australia again today.
Marvelous. Well, the first question I love to ask everyone is that if we were at an intimate dinner party and you sat next to a complete stranger and they asked you what you do for a living or what is your greatest passions, how would you reply to that?
Well, what I did for a living, or still do, is actually to be a writer and illustrator for books. I have published hundreds of books over the last 45 years.
Wow.
That's what I do, and that's where I make my money with, and which I thoroughly enjoy, which is also my passion and my delight and my joy. But on the sideline, I also have studied many spiritual paths over the last 60 plus years. And very much so the last 40 years, a very unique path, which was given through a woman in Germany. Her name is Gabriele, or was Gabriele. She died last year. And for 50 years, she gave, for me, the highest spiritual teachings I've ever seen anywhere. And I've done many, many different paths. So I have followed that as my personal interest and have not intended to share this with anybody, because I always believe that spirituality is similar like religion or even political affiliation. You keep it to yourself. You don't necessarily run around and share it with other people. But a unique situation came up when my father was dying many, many years ago, and he didn't believe in life after death. And as he was dying, I had an opportunity to be with him for the last few hours. And I just told him, I know that you don't believe in life after death, but just in case there is existence after death, these are probably the 10 things which you may encounter. So don't be surprised. And he listened to it, smiled, and then a few days later he died. And I totally forgot that. And it was only 5 years later when a total stranger came up to me in a bookstore, tapped me on the shoulder and says, "Hi, my name is Roland and I am a medium. And as you came into the bookstore, your father came right to me, a spirit, and told me, go to this man and thank him for what he told me, because everything what he said was true, and it helped me so much on the other side." And then he said, he is now working at the receiving side of souls which have just died. And he says, would I please write books about it and share what I know with other people as well? And I gave it some thought, and I didn't want to write more books. I already have done enough. So I thought, remembered myself when I was a teenager, desperately looking for information about why we are here, where we are going to, and where do we come from. And I thought, I want to approach the young people. And at that time, this was 12 years ago, the YouTube was the way to go. So I created very short YouTube, because the attention span of today's people is short, sort of 5 to 10 minutes long YouTubes, where I illustrate my understanding of the spiritual laws. Like, for instance, what I have here, I show in my drawings of how karma works. Somebody hits, and then this karma is registered in the Akashic records and the planets, and eventually comes back. And when one sees these things visually, all these spiritual laws and dynamics become very clear, mostly to myself and also to a lot of the viewers. So I make now these videos, which I thoroughly enjoy because I learned so much about it. And by sharing it, I know it helps other people too. That's in a nutshell.
That's amazing. And I was browsing some of your videos last night. I thought I'd go in and have a look, just to do a little bit of research for today. And mate, the amount of work that goes into those is incredible. Like, how many of those videos have you done in the last 12 years? Do you know?
I think so, 160. Sort of, try to make one a month and so on. Yeah, it is a lot of work, but when you enjoy what you're doing, you never see that as work. Oh. Because I learned so much from it. When I really illustrated, I learned myself, oh, this connects, this makes all sense. And that's why I said this path which BioGeometry gave us over the last 50 years is so clear and is so simple. And she always says, God is ingenious simplicity. And when you all put this together, there are no secrets. It's very obvious. There is no guesswork. It all fits together. And that I found so interesting, and that excites me. And over the years, I have also tried, as a student of the spiritual path, to sort of learn and take these lessons into my life and try to live them. And that has changed a lot in my life, because now I see life very differently, that over the years, I've actualized as many of these laws. Right. I still have got a long way to go, but just seeing these small little successes has helped me so much. And I know from other people who have also started those little baby steps is, wow, this is quite interesting how this works.
So I'm intrigued by your journey and how you've gotten to the understanding that you have, because you've covered so many topics, and your drawings really do bring to life, like they say, a picture paints 1,000 words, and it clearly does when you're doing what you're doing. Where did it all begin for you then? Were you spiritually curious? Was it meeting Gabrielle, like the lady?
No, when I was sort of a teenager, and I'm not a very happy teenager, I must say, it's sort of confused and scared and whatever. I didn't believe in the organized religion. It just didn't make sense that there would be a God, a loving God, and there are people who are rich and are poor, who are sick, and there's war. There is no God for me. That didn't make sense. But it was only later when I got involved in the material of Edgar Cayce, the American sleeping prophet, when I certainly for the first time I heard about reincarnation and that Christ taught reincarnation. And suddenly this realization that Christ taught reincarnation, which means that suddenly it makes sense why somebody is ill, why somebody is rich, why somebody is poor, because it's all related to past lives and what we do. And suddenly everything made sense to me. It began to make sense. It just over the years became more and more clearer to me. But I was very confused. And when I was 19 or something, I was very lucky to come into contact to the transcendental meditation, which for the first time helped me to calm my mind. I realized I didn't have to think every thought. And I got so much empowerment through that simple technique that within 3 months, I said to my parents, I don't want to live in Germany anymore. It's too rainy and too wet. I want to live in Africa. So I left Germany to Africa on my own, didn't know any soul. I would have never done that had I not done the meditation before.
At 19?
But I was getting so wow. I came I lived in Africa, and then after another 12 years, I traveled around the world for 2 years, and then eventually came to America, where I live now. And in all these years, I met wonderful teachers and spiritual guides and had lots of interesting opportunities. But as I said, I thought this was something which is only for myself, and I never intended to share it, which I now do. And so far, it works out all right.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm just curious as well, because you mentioned, we can move on from this because I want to get into some of your teachings, but with Gabrielle, was she a channel? Is that what you said?
Well, she was an emissary of light, according to we could also call her prophetess. She was a very selective kind of high spirit being who came to this planet Earth for the sole purpose to teach the inner path, as we call it, which is the path between the soul and God. So without any gurus, without any teachers, without any organization to join, it is really a path between you and your own divinity within yourself, because the kingdom of God is in ourselves. And that's also where God is and Christ is. And when this is a connection we should establish in this lifetime and draw from the help and guidance which we have within ourselves. So no outside force and no outside building, organization, teacher, guru, etc. That was very powerful. That's what she made it very clear. And after she died, she also made very clear and says, my teachings must not be taught by teachers or somebody who thinks that they know the path. Let the books speak for themselves, and the person will be guided by their spirit guide to do the right, to read the right chapter and learn the right chapter. And all her works, her life works, is in the Sophia Library in Germany. If you punch it in, you see more about it, and you find her. And her publishing house is Gabriele Publishing House. But you just look at the Sophia Library, anybody interested to see all her books. So this attracts me very much. And I had the opportunity to meet Gabriele a few times in my life. She came to America as well. And she was a very humble person. And you don't see any photos or anything of her. She didn't want any attention drawn to herself. It was the material, the message that she had to bring. And having studied so many other messages from Course in Miracles, from a conversation with God, and all of them, there's nothing as clear and as easy to understand as this material. And particularly when you read other good material like Edgar Cayce, Rudolf Steiner, sometimes you have to read the sentence 3-4 times before you really know what it means. It's not easy to understand. Here you've got very clear, the books are translated in many languages and very easy to understand. Well, this is the basis of most of my videos, not all, because I'm not representing them in any form. I'm sharing only my own spiritual experiences as a student on the path as given to us. So it is my responsibility. I'm not speaking on anybody's behalf. And therefore, I am not trying to convince anybody. If somebody likes the video, likes the material, great. If it doesn't work for somebody, also great. I have zero interest to convert anybody or to convince anybody that this is the right path for them.
It's a couple of things you mentioned there. One, I understand I got a couple of Edgar Cayce books on my bookshelves, and they are a tough read. Like my vocabulary is not the greatest anyway, and I start reading those things, I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is he saying here? Which I understand. And the second point I wanted to make is that ultimately what you're saying is that we really have to find our own way to our own inner wisdom. And there's information out there that can help guide us, but unless we're applying it in our own lives, in our daily actions and our thoughts, and applying the principles that are on offer, then we're going beyond ourselves to try and find an answer, which is ultimately within ourselves, which I feel we're so conditioned to do in Western society.
Yeah, actualize what we learn. Knowledge can be harmful. We have to actualize what we know, because knowledge, there's this old story of somebody, it's much worse for a saint to step on a bug than for a caveman to kill a whole mammoth, because the saint knows they shouldn't step on a bug. So when we have all this knowledge and do not actualize it, we usually fall over our big head and make a mess out of it. The key is actualization. Knowledge is actually not important at all.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was going to ask you a question because the delay sometimes in the recording. I'm jumping in before you finished. So what have been the key principles from these teachings that you have found really helpful in understanding and applying in your life that has brought you more joy, peace, and happiness? Because clearly you emanate all those things, Hans, you know?
Yeah, I speak for myself. I discovered through this path and other paths as well, who I am, where I'm coming from, that I'm a spirit being, and I'm a perfect spirit being. I used to be a perfect spirit being who has basically fallen from the absolute reality, like most of us around here, and have fallen into the sphere, into the realm of space and time, contrasts and cause and effect. And this is now up to me now to slowly return back to the absolute reality. This is sort of in a nutshell. And by doing so is to apply love again. We all have fallen, and this is basically the fall of the angels. We have all fallen because we acted, thought, and spoke against the law of love. And every time we acted against the law of love, we created what is generally called karma, which has to be balanced out. It's not a punishment, it's just something to realize this is not the right way to do. So we experience karma in this lifetime, in previous lifetime, and future lifetimes. And so slowly we learn through the pain that we have given to not do that anymore. We have two ways to learn, either through insight, which means I follow a sentence like Christ gave gave us the Sermon on the Mount and the Golden Rule, and we have the 10 Commandments. These are the plain rules. If we would live by them, if we just live by the Golden Rule, we would all be in paradise by now. But that is one way. Or we learn through pain, which means I hurt you and somebody else was hurting me again, and that's maybe not a good way to progress. So it's a very simple way. So my return is back to the absolute reality. This is what I show in most of my videos, where we came from. We are all divine children of God, created in whatever that is, in his image, absolute perfect beings. But a number of these spirit beings, early at creation, have decided to make their own creation. This is the fall of Lucifer. And some the revelations say that a third of all spirit beings in the absolute reality have decided to leave the absolute reality. But now they have seen it doesn't work. It's painful, it's horrible, awful, we can't do it. We want to return back to the realm of harmony, peace, and unity. And that's the driving force eventually where we now return back, because this is what we are longing for. This is what we are longing for the realm of harmony, unity, and peace and love. This is where we came from. This is where we are going. So this is really in a very short nutshell. And anybody who would find this maybe confusing, I would suggest to watch the video, The Path of the Soul, which clearly states this, what I said in a little bit more visually in the point. It is clearer to understand when you visually see that we came from perfection, we fell into this temporary reality, and we return back to perfection.
No, I'm listening on every word, your Hans, and I'm curious to know your thoughts, because, you know, as we've come from perfection into this physical reality, and I certainly reflected on my journey. We get fixated on the physical, and it's almost like we're burrowing in deeper and deeper into 3D reality, and which generates more, if you drink alcohol or you live in lifestyles that are not supporting the greatest essence. What I've found is that I experience more fear, more disconnection, more anxiety, things that felt very dense. So I guess my question is this a necessary part of the journey as be it perfection, to come through and burrow into the 3D, to then have that yearning to coming home, and then leaning into more the laws of love and that essence of kindness and the things that you speak of? Because it seems like that trajectory, of coming down through and having to come back out the other side is quite a journey.
Yeah, it's not necessary. On the contrary, the majority of souls that have left the absolute reality has not fallen as deeply as we have. Remember, all of existence of universal is nothing but vibrations and energy. We are talking about energy. Even matter, we know, is nothing but energy and vibration and frequency. So the highest one we can say love, and the lowest one we can call matter, because matter is basically nothing than condensed light ether. Light ether is another word for love. So many souls didn't fall so deep. They realized very soon that this is not a good idea. I'd rather stay here or come home. But some of us have fallen so much in selfishness versus selflessness that the earth attracted us. And the earth is not hell as such. It was a gift given to us by divinity, because the planet Earth is very unique. In the spiritual realm, everything goes by the law of like attracts like, which means that a soul, a spirit being, is around similar vibrating spirit beings on planets whether they are semi-material, total spiritual, which are very much like the same, which means all the souls around you are very much thinking the same, speaking the same, acting the same. And in that kind of environment, growth and progress is very limited because you only speak to the converted already. And this means negative as well as positive. Therefore, planet Earth is very unique. Here, souls from all 7 spheres of the purification spheres can incarnate. This is very, very unique. We have got very high evolved beings who can come here and lots of low vibrating beings who can incarnate here for a very short time, for roughly 25,000 days, which is a roughly period of our life on Earth here. Because Earth is not our home planet. It's a school, and school is always limited. So we come here for a very short time, interacting with lots of other souls from different spheres with whom we may have even karmic ties, and we can solve them because they are now in another sphere than we are. And we can also interact and see other ways of life and can grow from that. So planet Earth is a very amazing school. Another video, The Amazing Earth School, which I suggest, explains it in great detail why planet Earth is so very, very unique, and for us to learn and to undo all that what attracts us to planet Earth. Because as you mentioned, there is so much attraction, vibration here on planet Earth, and we have to unfortunately let go of being attracted by these things.
Wow. So listening to what you're saying with the soul, are we coming here to resolve the karmic laws or the karmic things that we've applied as a soul? And this is our opportunity for that purification. Is that one way of looking at it?
I would say the majority of people are coming here to undo their karma. Unfortunately, many are getting, again, so stuck into the earth, that the attraction of the earth, that they cycle over and over again. It was not the intention of divinity that we over and over incarnate back to planet Earth. Some people 100 times, even 1,000 times. The idea is only 1 incarnation, 2 incarnation to clear up our karma. That is the majority, but there are also other people who come here because souls who come here, souls who want to learn something specific, like love, like compassion, like understanding, like caring. They have a special task and they need this environment. And then there are again also other spirit beings, souls who come here as teachers, as guides for others. So there are many reasons why souls incarnate to planet Earth, but the majority is here because of karmic reason. Now, they may not see that necessarily before they incarnate. They may be attracted to planet Earth. They can't wait to live this, whatever it's sex, drugs, or rock and roll, whatever it is, the soul loved very much in their previous lifetimes. It can also be fame. It can be richness. It can be power. And these are energies which which tie the soul to planet Earth. And like an anchor, or if we have deep wishes, deep cravings for something like this, and we die before these cravings have been fulfilled, this craving is an anchor and can call us back into another lifetime.
Wow. Yeah.
So there are many reasons why souls are here. And the thing is, it's very important also when we see people who are struggling or having a tough time, it's never up to us to assume, guess, or whatever their reason is for their incarnation. We are only here to find out our own reason why we incarnate here. What is our reason here? And we may not be given a clear answer. This is the reason why you are incarnated. But from day to day, we are given what is called day's energies. And that is our building block of the day. The day's energy, which can be a phone call, it can be a text message, it can be your wife shouting at you, it can be you killing the dog in the street. These are all moments which are related to past life experiences. And now it's the time to clear it. From moment to moment, we are having situations, and everybody has a different day. So every day is constructed out of these life energies. They're coming back to us. And in these energies, in this moment, when we do have the emotional responses or reactions to the situation, that is a moment when we can do our spiritual work, when we can learn to forgive, learn to love, learn to let go, recognize ourselves, etc., etc. So every day is a teaching day here on planet Earth for us. In my video, The Amazing Earth School, it's explained of how this all works together and how these components, these daily energy components are coming into our life.
So could you unpack karma a little bit more for all of us then? Just so we understand your view of it.
Yeah, it's basic. As I said, every time we have acted, thought, spoken against the law of love, we have acted, spoken against our true self, because we are love. And we have basically lied, cheated ourselves, and we have to balance that out. And it comes out either in something, as I said, when we do something negative, if I hit somebody, hurt somebody, as like here in this drawing, let me go again, hit somebody, that is stored in the soul of myself here, because I'm the evil one, and also in the soul of the person I'm hurting. It is recorded in the Akashic records that surrounds the planet Earth, which is everything is recorded in there, and most importantly, in the repository planets of the material and semi-material universe, from where, when these move in a different constellation or full, it comes back, downloaded back to us in this lifetime or in next lifetimes. That is how karma returns back to the sender. And there I will now experience the very same thing which I have given to someone else. To balance it out, and also for me to recognize, it's a teaching tool, nothing else. As I said, karma is nothing negative. It's a teaching. It's a gift in a way, if we understand it. Therefore, when we are sick, for instance, sick is an illness, or an illness is in most cases karma. But instead of cursing it, it would be helpful to understand and to appreciate that now, through the sickness, this karmic debt is flowing out through me, and I'm free of it. It's like suddenly relieves you of your $1 million debts. You're free of it. Celebrate it, embrace it, celebrate it. It doesn't mean we shouldn't go to the doctor and heal it. That's another story. But instead of seeing it as something negative, it's only an action to a reaction to an action which we have at one time set into motion.
Wow. Well, just going out slightly on a tangent here, but it's just coming in. So I'm curious, because it's kind of areas that I see often is with trauma and ancestral trauma that comes through as well, that can be affecting the way we feel, the way we think, and the way of being on a day-to-day basis. How do you view that, and especially when that ties into karmic laws as well? Could they be part of karmic laws that as part of the soul's journey?
Most certainly. In many cases, when we speak of ancestors and so on, how do we know that we are not the very ancestor reincarnated again? Very often, that's why we do give. What happens is, if we are, let's say we are a killer, a murderer, this will also store, as I said, in the genes, in my genes. Now, if I make babies, that gene is in that baby. It will not come to fruition, but the next generation or the next generation, the same gene of that baby and the baby's baby, when I then incarnate again, I have again a body with the genes which I left behind. So it just comes together again. And this is also with ancestral trauma. There is no coincidence why we are incarnating in certain families, because we can only be drawn to a mother of same vibration or very similar vibration. If I am a murderer, there must be something in that mother also murderous or something. It doesn't mean she goes out and kills somebody, but she can kill herself. The negative talks up, I'm no good, I'm bad, I'm evil, or whatever it is. A lot of people have that. That is a form of self-murdering. Also, doing drugs is a form of self-murdering. So this element, this vibration, must already be somehow in the mother. So like attracts like. So it is in the ancestors, in the family vibration. And then later on, we incarnate maybe again. This whole vibration is still there. But any time, any moment, we have an opportunity to clear it. Whenever that instance, that trauma is hitting us personally, not just in story of our grandparents, but personally, I'm suddenly facing with something which I think may be related to a trauma that happened with my ancestors. That is my opportunity to go within. How have I caused it? What is the message here? How can I let go of it? How can I relieve it? And if I don't find the answers, we go to Christ within on the sixth chakra, which is the Christ spark, in our prayer, in our meditation. This is my feeling. I need answers. I need help to let go. Is there anyone, anything I have to forgive? In many cases, it's only a question of forgiveness. We have to let go of these things, and we have to really want to let go of these forgiveness and forgive other people who have hurt us. And particularly when it comes to trauma and so on, where we always think that the other person is so bad, and we are the poor victim. We are never, ever a victim. What happens to us has a purpose for us to wake up. And in greatest likelihood, not always, in greatest likelihood, we have done something similar in this or in previous lifetimes. And now we have to experience how it is. And if we stop only this idea of being a victim, I just remember Byron Katie said something wonderful. Who is hurting you more? The person who once hit you, or you hurting yourself by going over that event over and over and over and over and over again? Who is hurting you more? Who is hurting you has hurt you more? So stop being a victim. It's another video I have on that. We realize that everything is here, as Byron Katie again says, it happens for us and not to us. And everything is here to bring us home. Everything is here to wake us up. The whole world is just the kindest universe. It's a kind universe, which is here to wake us up. In spite of all the cruelty and the nastiness that we see on television going around the world. But it is all here to wake us up.
Yeah, wow. It's certainly a journey, is it? It's not easy. That's for sure. And what you speak of, awareness, isn't it? Really, ultimately, I wasn't even aware of any of the things that were going on under the surface earlier in my life. There was just complete disconnection. I wasn't taught it. Nobody was there to guide me to it, and it's not hard to look out into the world and see why it is the way it is sometimes when you look at who are the people around us supporting us, guiding us and teaching us into greater wisdoms.
And the other ones, the politician and so on, who have no idea, who again don't know what motivates them, what is underneath, who is driving them. And we can talk about possessive spirits, who is driving them to make these sometimes very bad and cruel decisions where a lot of people are suffering. Because, as you say, nobody has really taught us this thing that every moment in our life is an opportunity to become free. Every moment is an opportunity to make us grow more and to become more who we truly are, that loving person. If we just only look at the situation and see the situation as a gift, even if it is horrible, like cancer, killing, whatever. But we are eternal cosmic beings. Nothing can destroy us.
You mentioned, there's a loop in the back of my mind that you mentioned earlier on. You spoke about the 7 spheres, I believe, as souls came in. What were you referring to?
The Spirit of God, if we use this word on which everything is based, on which all creation comes from, the highest frequency, consists of 7 powers of God. And this is very difficult for us to really grasp because this is a 7-dimensional reality. And Gabi uses these 7 energies and gives them words or characteristics that we can understand too. The first one is order. The next one is will. Then followed by wisdom, earnestness, patience, love, and mercy. And these are the energies which are doing all of creations. And everything has these 7 elements, which is created in divinity. And we ourselves, if we want to return back to divinity, have to go these 7 steps, which means we have to start with order. We have to bring order into our life, into our where we live, and most of all, order into our head, in our way of thinking. Because a house can only stand on its solid foundation and an orderly foundation. So the first task and the first schooling is to bring order into our life. The next one is to realize my self-will versus divinity will, God's will, which means ego will versus the will of love, the will of unity, harmony for everyone. That's the second level. And then comes the next one is wisdom. And it grows, and every step the wisdom comes again, where we manifest, where we learn to use our powers in a positive way and create through it, and etc. It goes up to finally to mercy. So it is a progress, because we have left our absolute reality through these 7 powers, and we now have to bring these, awaken these 7 powers in us. These 7 powers are identical to the 7 chakras in our body, from the bottom to the 7. So we have to open one chakra to the other by opening ourselves up, by becoming order again, wisdom and will and so on. We are opening up also these chakras, and then the energy of life can flow through our body far more profoundly, more healthy and more powerful, until we open all our chakras. So all these words, chakras, karma, and so on, sounds very Eastern philosophy, but it is all material that Christ has taught. And that is something which was very new to me when I started off to understand that. And that is how we basically learned through all these wonderful teachings which were given to us.
I love it. Do you have a video on that one by any chance?
On what?
On the 7 chakras related to the 7 energies related.
Oh yeah, there is. Yes, sure.
Of course you do.
On the 7 chakras. Sure, yeah, I have that. And it was yes, and it was interesting. Just on a sideline, this is a bit of knowledge. It doesn't help us necessarily, but to understand the role of Christ when the fall became so bad that eventually the chakras would turn backwards, which means that all of evolution would be dissolving. That was a moment when Christ came to this planet Earth and implanted his light into every soul of the 4 lower spheres in our heart region, next in our heart region, which is the earnest chakra. And that stopped the further degeneration of our chakras. Now, this kind of teaching you wouldn't find anywhere else. I mean, it's not, I shouldn't say that. Meanwhile, I know 2 other sources I met personally in my lifetime who are also channeling the same information that came through Gabi. But Gabi is superior, because Gabi was already teaching prophetess. The others also have the access and teach the same thing, but on a much lesser level. So for me, I found, because of knowing other people as well, bringing in the same information, I find a lot of confirmation for myself for that.
I've not heard it being put like that before, and it really resonates. So just to recap for myself as well, so I understand what you say, and for everyone listening, is that the chakras then, by starting to become aware of the chakras and putting our attention there, we can actually start to reclaim those 7 energies we speak of that we left as a soul to come here into 3D reality, into this dense form. And we're starting to bring that energy back, but at the same time we're clearing karmic energy that might be withheld within us, or the soul, or the vibration. Is that one way of saying it?
We are opening ourselves up to these 7 powers and opening the chakras by clearing our karma.
Right.
The karma are like rocks on a well, and the well can't really flow. But every time this daily energy comes into our life, and we are suddenly facing throughout the day some different small instances, bad instances, there is a little rock there which can be cleared up. And the more we clear up our karma, the more the well of life spring is in us, flowing, and then order, will, and wisdom, and so on, they all are flowing again. It is only by undoing our karma, our negative, or anything we have done against the law of love. And all we are doing is opening ourselves back to love again, of who we truly are. There is not really much secret about it. It's all very simple. If you think about it, and if you see it, it's in a very simple, obvious thing. For me, at least, it is.
For me too. I mean, you would know this, but like when I was started to lean into my journey, I didn't even understand what a chakra was really, but I was really drawn to meditating on the chakras. That was my version of a transcendental meditation or something. And I would sit there every single morning and just start working through them. And over time, I was gobsmacked by the amount of energy that started to want to move, that was releasing old emotions, traumas, things that were starting to release, and still do to this day. It blows my mind how many little rocks that keep appearing and letting go.
Yeah.
But also it's opened me up more and more to the divine, and that feel that connection. And my default space is much more a loving, peaceful being than a stressed out, fear-driven person that held a lot of loneliness. That was, the first half of my life, and it keeps opening up to it more and more. So I just find the whole journey, the whole thing fascinating, and it's through those experiences why I'm so curious, and to speak to people like yourself, and because there's always more. So what you're saying is, would you be fair to say some people carry more rocks than others then in this?
Yeah, I think we all have a different share of rocks and so on. Yeah, some carry more. But again, we should also be very careful to judge anybody who is maybe having a very difficult life, says, oh, maybe he has got more karma. That's not necessarily the case. There are souls who incarnate here on this planet Earth out of love for another dear soul in the spiritual world who has burdened himself so much that it would take eons of times to undo this karma. So another higher evolved soul comes out of love, incarnates, and carries the burden or the karma of that beloved soul. It's very similar like a mother whose child gets very ill, and she may say, oh God, don't take let me become sick, but not the child. There's really love, which you do these things out of really love for someone. So some people, and we can see this with a lot of handicapped people, who may be sort of very deformed or in rollers and in wheelchairs and so on. It's not necessarily the person with the karma. It can be someone else carrying the soul's burden for another soul. It's something quite amazingly, but the more we understand how love works, the more sense it makes.
What do you feel or believe happens to the soul once it's reincarnated enough? And let's say you get to that point where you come here, you've cleared all your karma, you act by the laws of love, you're in this space. Then what happens, do you believe? How does the soul continue to evolve?
Well, you evolve through the four lower levels, and then the attraction to planet Earth is no longer there. So you don't need to incarnate anymore. Or neither is there anything on this planet Earth which really attracts you. This like sort of our sensualities in many forms and ways. And then the progression of learning goes up in the higher levels. And then you are pulled by the God energy. Up to the fourth level, at the lower level, you are pulled by the magnetic energy of the Earth to incarnate again. And when you have reached the fourth level, then you are pulled up by God energy. So again, like attracts like. This old law, it goes totally and works in every field. So the soul will continue learning until it has truly purified itself. And all in the spiritual realms, there are many, many of these realms, sub-realms and so on, realms. There are teaching angels who are helping us to understand and go further and further. These are also experiences which we have during our sleep when we dream. Very often in our dream time, we are going to what we can call classrooms in the spiritual world, where we get taught. During our sleep, we get taught about the spiritual reality. We forget this in the morning, but our subconscious remembers, and our conscience remembers as well. So when we have a situation where we have to decide good or bad, our conscience may help us with a memory of the schooling we had during the night to make a better choice.
How do you view, I dropped into one of your videos last night that caught my attention, which I don't even know why, I was just drawn to it, around the connection to animals and the connection to plants, connection to rocks, and everything is in communication with us if we choose to listen and choose to connect with that. How do you view that part of our evolution and the souls of animals? And do plants have souls? Like, how do you start to see all these things fit in with one another?
In my video all about animal, I show that in the spiritual realm is evolution. There are the planets, the stars, but also evolution. And the evolution has stages. We go from the mineral, from the virtualized atom, it goes into the kingdom of the minerals. After eons of time, the minerals go through all the different mineral forms. They then enter the same kind of entities, goes into the plant kingdom. Plant kingdom goes through the whole plant kingdom. Then it goes through the animal kingdom. And when that and at the beginning, it's sort of a group entity of the animal, but later on it becomes a half soul and a half spirit. And then after it has gone through all these phases, it becomes a nature being. We know the nature being, the gnomes, the elves, and so on, the devas, and so on. And then the next step is then it becomes a spirit being, a son or daughter of God. When you see this visually of how it happens, it's quite logical, which means that you and I and everybody else went through all these stages, and that our brothers and sisters are not just only human beings, but also the animals. That animals are our little brothers and sisters. They look at us, they look up at us, because they know one day I will be one of them, because they know about evolution. One day I will be a higher spirit being, like we used to be. So therefore, it is advisable not to eat meat and respect that, and to stay with become vegetarian or vegan if possible, because the animals are nothing but our brothers and sisters. And because we went through all the stages of the plant, mineral, and animal kingdoms, all of the essence of these animals and plants and kingdoms is in us. Furthermore, Christ said, the kingdom of God is in us. So all the essence of every being is in us. Therefore, if we are really attuned, so I'm told, I haven't developed it yet, we can totally communicate with every life form around us in this lifetime, in this here planet Earth, as well as in other spheres. So that's why my other video of how to communicate with nature, it is very much because it's all in us. And these are not strangers. We went through all the stages, and we can connect with them, and we see them as something just earlier stages of ourselves.
Do you feel then, like, so two days ago, my wife comes running in. I think I just got up, and she said there's a 6-foot python out on our fence, right? And we've just moved here, and that's our first python we've seen since living here. And he was sitting on the top of the fence by the washing line, loud, just proud, just fully on top, just slowly making his way. And I took my daughter, and we're all looking at this python going, oh, it was so beautiful and majestic. And in my world, it's like, that's no accident. Surely that's a symbol or a connection. Like, how do you view these things when these things happen? Because it's so random. Do you believe that there's a message there for us?
We said over and over again, there are no accidents in life. Everything is a reason. I spoke earlier about the day's energy. That encounter with that snake was no coincidence. That was clearly meant for you. I don't know how you interpret it and how you digest it and what it means to you, but that was no coincidence. That was a purpose there. And you have to interpret it in your own way and see what it means to you and what it gives you, or what can, as you say, you're impressed by this majestic or the beauty of the animals, but you could also easily say, oh, I have to kill it.
Yeah.
I have to protect my family. You could have reacted that same other way as well. So it is for you to see what this could mean, but it is not a coincidence. There are no accidents in life. Everything, absolutely everything, is carefully orchestrated for us to wake up from our slumber, from our dream, from our illusion, which is this whole world here.
Yeah. So just slowly wrapping up the podcast, Hans, like, what would you recommend? Not to recommend to anything, but like, how do you live your life on a daily basis? Do you have certain non-negotiables, or are there certain practices that have helped you along the years to continue to develop your own spiritual path and journey?
Well, yeah, I do have I wake up, we're grateful, thanking divinity that I've got another day to learn. I go into meditations very much. I go within myself. It varies from day to day and how firm. Sometimes I listen to a meditation. Sometimes I just listen to within myself. What is the message coming up? Sometimes I write it down because it's very strong. And in the evening, preferably also at noontime, but very often, I must admit, I forget to do it at noontime, but in the evening, I I look back at the day and says, what happened here? What did I miss? What did I learn? What did I grow? Where did I screw up again? And if I screwed up somewhere, to make a point tomorrow to maybe rectify it with a phone call, conversation, or whatever it is, to sort of bring order into this. It's very simple, this tool, but when you are embarking on the inner path, as Gabi says it, there are daily tasks which are all a bit different, where we just look at certain days, we look at what we say, what we think, etc. So on that path, there are unique tasks given every day, which are quite fun to explore ourselves and understand of how we function. So that is something where anybody who is interested can do this. And then on the next level, on will, there are some other tasks. There are small little tasks to make our life interesting and to see how we are actually basically sleepwalking through the day, unless we are suddenly real, oh my God, this is amazing. I never thought I did this, or I thought this, or when we are stuck in thought patterns and things like this, or inner dialogues and so on. And so anybody who is interested on this path will be given certain little tasks, again, without teacher, without organization. They can do it whenever they want to. They can let it be whenever they want to. It's all between them and their own divinity.
Yeah, beautiful. Do you have any videos in the making at the moment? Is there anything you're working on?
Yeah, I've always worked on something. What is this one? Oh yeah, it's a sort of coming home about all the family members who we left behind in the absolute reality. Eventually, when we return, we will meet them again. And they have been waiting for us very patiently, because in the absolute reality, there is no time. There's only the permanent now. Time and space is an illusion in which we are living right now. But that's another time.
Yeah. I feel like I keep picking your brains for hours, Hans. Good on you, mate. What's the name of your YouTube channel? I just want to make sure everyone jumps on that.
Well, you just punch you punch in my name, Hans Wilhelm, and it will come up. It's Life Explained. You can also find my website, where the same videos are on my website. It's lifeexplained.com. And these things, and they're all free. There's nothing to join, no, etc. You can see them, watch them at any of your time. I also have no advertisements on these videos, and I do not ask for donations. So these are just only a gift of love for anybody who might correspond with to these.
Beautiful, mate. And what was the website of Gabrielle? You mentioned there was a...
That is, yeah, I would say the easiest to find is the Sophia Library in Germany, and the publishing house is Gabriele-Publishing-House.
Okay, beautiful.
.com.
Beautiful. Mate, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was fun. Thank you talking with you, and I'm delighted to have met you. Maybe we meet again one day.
Absolutely.
Coming up because
thanks so much, Hans.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.